So hi everyone, the webinar is about to start. So welcome to everyone who's joined us. This is a series of webinars about how to use MyAppConverter. I am Jawed Ahmed, one of the co-founders of so apparently there's some issues with sound. You guys can hear me? Okay. Okay, so if you can hear me, can you all hear me now? Cool. Right, okay, for guys who can't hear me, you've got to download, and I guess you have already downloaded, you've got to download a small app to be able to call via internet. Sorry about this. This is the first webinar we are running with Join Me. So apologies for that in advance for those who can't hear me. Those who can, obviously, that's cool for you. So I am Jawed Ahmed, one of the co-founders of MyAppConverter, and along with me today, we've got Issam Meru and Othman Elkourd, both lead developers on MyAppConverter. So guys, forgive us about this first webinar if technical sound or anything is not working. We will try to improve at the next and forthcoming webinars. One thing for sure is we're trying to listen to our first early private or public beta users. Hence this webinar. And most of the private beta and public beta told us about the need to provide some clear instructions, clear documentations about how to get started with the code conversion platform. So this is a first step. Some housekeeping rules. All lines will be muted during the entire webinar, so please do use the chat panel for questions. We're going to keep for half an hour session for Q&A, and please do tweet as much as you can using hashtag MyAppConverter for any live discussions during and after. Help us basically to promote and raise our profile. This webinar will be recorded and will be emailed to all attendees and registered. Any unanswered questions, so questions we did not answer during the Q&A, will be answered and posted in the forum section. So let's crack on. The target audience for this webinar is for iOS developers, Android developers, or both. Also, we welcome basically mobile developers who have experience in hybrid and closed platform. Okay, today we'll learn what MyAppConverter is, how to use it, and we're going to give you some hints and tips about doing your first and forthcoming successful conversions. Then we're going to introduce you to Sprite for Droid plugin, which is bringing Sprite functionalities to Android world and how to use it. So let's kick off about MyAppConverter, what it is. So we are claiming we are the world's first true native to native mobile code converter. So we're not a cross-compile solution. We don't see ourselves as a cross-platform solution. We are generating native code from a native code source, using model-driven engineering and semantic-driven code transformation. We can probably explain a bit later during the Q&A how we do this from an architectural point of view. MyAppConverter is not only a platform. We want to basically build, underpinning that platform, a strong and growing and vibrant community where developers can help each other, use the platform as a code conversion service, share knowledge, experience, and really sort of work together, especially for the things that we want your involvement as a member, i.e. driving the roadmap forward. Compared to solutions that exist in the current marketplace, that are so-called cross-platform, I think for what we see, and this is something we've confirmed with our private beta user pool, is the beauty of having no software download kit to download, development kit, sorry, to download. So we have two ways. Either it's an online cloud-based code conversion service, and later on we'll have an IDE plugin to the developer's environment. We don't embark any embedded runtime, so that means your native converted project runs at maximum performance when it basically, for the apps creation. We also don't have any hidden code. We aim to support all current platforms, mainly iOS, Android, and Windows. Today we do for the beta iOS to Android, but we'll be basically working towards covering the other platforms. One thing that was, and I'm trying to repeat here, we don't store any of members' code. So once you've used MyAppConverter, we delete the code after you've downloaded the converted Android project. This is a key thing, and I want to make it clear. I'd like to give you on this slide a bit of the status and the scope of the private beta. So the private beta, we've got about more than 7,000 users worldwide. They're using the cloud-based solution for the iOS 7.1 to Android KitKat code conversion service. The coverage of that beta gets increased every week. That's because we want to cover as much as we can based on what members are submitted in terms of their iOS project. You can check the coverage on myappconverter.com/coverage. The beta will end of next month on the 30th of April. Then we're going to start basically commercializing MyAppConverter cloud-based solution. During that beta, any members who sign up can enjoy 3 app code conversion with a compressed file for their project up to 30 meg. If you do have a need for something above 30 meg, let us know. We provide member support from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. GMT via online chat. This is OLARC. We'll also provide members forum and support and an email at support@myappconverter.com. So the other bits that I'd like to cover about introducing MyAppConverter is the growing community of members who are key experts in their own specific area. And I think for the first time, a platform will bring iOS experts, Android Java experts, hopefully Windows experts, to work and share and sort of exchange knowledge across their basically different expertise. That knowledge and experience across the different platforms, it's something that we really want to promote. The other thing as well we'd like to get is members to participate in active discussions with us and along with other members to drive the roadmap moving from where we are to where we want to be. Let's move on to how to do a successful conversion. So this is something that we've been told that was unclear when any first-time sign-up user trying basically to get accustomed with MyAppConverter platform. So I've cut that section into 3 items. For those who are on this webinar and have not signed up yet, give you a bit of how to sign up, quite a brief one. Then some tips about getting ready for your first code conversion. And then basically once you successfully converted your iOS project and you get an Android native project, what are you going to do with it? What's next? So let's start with the signing up and activating your account. This is very self-explanatory. You go to myappconverter.com/signup. You basically register. You can register via Facebook, email, or Twitter. We'll be extending it as well with other means of sign-ups later on. Do check your spam to make sure that basically the confirmation doesn't get basically lost. Sign-up is entirely free, and as I mentioned, you get 3 conversions until end of next month. Once you've done that and you enter to MyAppConverter, what we'd like you to do as part of a member is to fill in your profile in terms of what is your expertise, so other members know exactly where to go to if you want to have basically some specific one-off sessions or discussion, especially around, for example, a project that did not convert 100% and you want basically to find an Android expert. That's another example we can basically take. Then once you've done that, let's move on to get your first code conversion. So remember, we don't do app conversion, we do code conversion, hence the questions. So a series of 3 questions just to set up the expectations between you as a member expecting your Android code being converted from our platform and us in order to deliver that promise. So first of all, make sure your compressed file does contain all the iOS project, source code, and associated files and subfolders. Before compressing, do make sure it compiles successfully on your own machine. Also, although we aim to cover anything from 7.1 and above, including Swift and 8, for now the beta focuses on 7.1. So your project you want to submit during the beta has to be 7.1. So assuming you say yes for each of these questions, then you are ready basically to convert. I'm seeing lots of questions on the online chat. We'll be answering these questions after that presentation during the Q&A. So hold on to your guns, all questions will be answered. So this is the final slide about making sure you give a valid name for your project, and the files are copied and there's no linked to basically to the compressed file. So you've done this. Then this is where you see on the dashboard, before you start your conversion, you need to upload your zip project. So in that case, it's a UI Tetris iOS.zip. So you're uploading. The uploading would normally take between 1 or 2 minutes, depending on the size, if you have like 1 or 2 meg, up to 10 to 15 minutes. Then we analyze. This is the phase where once you upload your code, being zipped, of course, we're analyzing the code. So it goes through different steps here, and one of the steps is we do compile what you have submitted on our own servers. So this is where, if we find any compilation error, then we may have trouble giving you something that is basically, fit for purpose. So I emphasize, do make sure your submitted project is successfully compiling first on your machine. Like an example, I'll show you an example of compilation error we found, on one of the recent projects we did. You can skip the errors, they are not like harmful. However, that would affect the quality of the transformation of the code. So assuming you are basically submitting something that is successfully compiling on your machine, you've done the analysis. This is the next phase that analysis being reporting to you via 2 ways. You have a visual map that tells you how your code is basically based on, and elements of the report showing the mapped elements we did as part of MyAppConverter mapping knowledge versus non-mapped elements, meaning things of your code we don't or we cannot yet transform and convert. You can download this in Excel, so you can see it basically offline if you want. For each of these steps, most of our private beta and public beta now are giving us feedback on how to improve, to make sure the developers' experience using MyAppConverter gets better in their eyes and perspective. So if you use it, and I encourage anyone who's tried it to give us feedback, on these steps and any other steps, please. Now, once you've done that, and it tells you how much conversion, rate we can do. In that case, we had 100%. It's a sample application code, UI Tetris. So, but now for like in terms of for your information, we go from conversion rate from 60% up to 100%. We've got some public beta, we've got 100% code conversion. So they've got basically, if you look at it, we've managed to generate automatically and almost instantly an Android project, native, that the guys can go out and edit and basically compile and, get the .apk, on his own. However, here, that steps would take a few minutes, but once basically the completion of the conversion is done, then you get basically 2 steps here. You help us to promote MyAppConverter through Twitter. So you tweet basically to download your converted file. And then your converted file is a zip file that you can, go and basically start unzipping, and we're going to see what you're going to do next later on, just after this session. During the entire session here, you can get help. So ask us, tell us, we're here to help you. You have the forum. the live chat, and email to support. Normally, after you've done your first conversion, we will get back directly on a one-to-one basis to find out how you felt and what kind of feedback you would be able to tell us to improve on doing, basically, on using MyAppConverter. So what's next now? So how to use your native Android converted project, and I'll let Issam talk about what to do next. Over to you, Issam.
Thank you, Joel. So, you succeeded your first conversion and download your compressed Android project. Let's see now the next step. We will talk about the required skills you need to use your converted code, the system requirements for better experience in developing Android application. And I'll show you a use case of converted application, how to import your converted project in Eclipse and Android Studio, how to clean and build your project, and how to run your application in Android emulator. I will show you also some common issues found after the conversion during this beta. So let's start with the required skills. You need to have a good understanding of Java language programming. You need a minimal understanding of XML because you will be using it for some UI rendering and setting up some configuration and option. And a little bit, of course, of Android frameworks. System requirements. You can use Mac, Linux, or Windows machines, and it's recommended to use 4 GB RAM and at least 1 GB to run to be able to download Android SDK and emulator images. You have to download Java Development Kit 7, and you need also Eclipse with Android Development Tools plugin and download Android SDK. Otherwise, you have just to download Android Studio. In this slide, I am showing you a use case UI Tetris and iOS UI Kit based Tetris implementation. You can download both iOS and Android code source from GitHub website, and we can see the Xcode view of the project. So, as you can see, UI Tetris is built for target 7.1 and use frameworks that match the conversion coverage, like Foundation and Core Graphics. I have used MyAppConverter service, converted it to Android, and now I'm showing you first of all how to import the converted project to Eclipse. For that, just click File, Import, and select Existing Project into Workspace. Click Next. Find the archive file on your hard disk and click Open to select it. Make sure the two projects are recognized as seen on the screen. And click Finish. As we can see in the Package Explorer in Eclipse, MyAppConverter Android project library and UI Tetris converted projects are imported. There are no errors, just some warning. The converted code source contains unused imports and unformatted code. So, to clean your project, you have just to click Source Format and click Organize Imports. Running your Android application. You have to create an Android virtual device emulator. The easiest way to create an Android virtual device is to use the graphical EVD manager, which you launch from Eclipse by clicking Windows, EVD manager. Or you can use an Android powered device for testing and debugging. So to create a new Android virtual device, you have just to provide a file, an EVD name, And important to select API level 19. You can also clone existing device by selecting device definition tab, selecting your device definition and click create AVD. So now your emulator is running and launching. You can run your application in the emulator. Just select your application in the Eclipse and right click, run as Android application. In the same way, you can import your project to Android Studio. Just click Import Project and browse to the Incompressed Project folder. Choose an import destination, it may be your workspace, for example. An import dialog will appear. Just click Finish. That's all. So, in the same way, you can clean your project in Android Studio. Just click Code, click Reformat Code, and optimize imports also. And for building your project in Android Studio, select your project, in our case UI Tetris, and click Build Make Project. And we can see in the Gradle console view that the project built successfully. And finally, to run your application in the emulator, select your application and click Run UI Tetris, for example, and choose your device, your emulator. So now we will talk about most common issues found after the conversion. Compilation errors due to converted resource name and bus, Android resource name and conventions, missing method implementation, missing imports, or some iOS frameworks library methods we currently don't support. So let's start by converted resource name and convention. In our use case, for example, Tetris start with a capital letter. It's an invalid file name. Just select the file and click Refactor Rename to fix this issue. Let's move to the missing method implementation. Some class might missing some method from their superclass. For that, to fix that, just click Class and click Add Implemented Method. Even if we click Organize Imports, there may be some missing imports. In our example, Q, we can fix this by just clicking in the queue and click Import Queue. This solves this issue. And in case you use an unmapped framework, like in our case OpenAI, you can just tell us in the forum or use MyAppConverter alternative mapped framework. You can also edit the code and complete it manually. And please check for the latest coverage updates in our website, myappconverter.com/coverage. Thank you. To you, Joel.
Thank you, Issam. So now, you guys, you've seen, at least got a glimpse about from signing up to using your Android converted project. If there are any questions, do ask them now, and we'll feed them and answer them during the Q&A. Now, let's move on to, as part of MyAppConverter, we've got basically a plugin tool called Sprite for Droid, i.e. bringing the functionality of Sprite Kit to the Android world. And I'll let Othman talk about it. Over to you, Othman.
Thank you, Jawad. Hi, everyone. Let's start by talking about Sprite for Droid. So in this section, we will see what is Sprite for Droid, who is it for, and how to install and use the plugin. Then we will get ready for your first Sprite for Droid project. Then we will see together a demo to see how to use it and how to explore more functionalities. So, what is Sprite for Droid? Sprite for Droid is a plugin for the Eclipse IDE. We support actually the versions Kepler Release 2 and Luna Release 1. You can use it to create SpriteKit-based game in your Java environment. Sprite for Droid is bringing SpriteKit functionalities to Android. The benefit is that SpriteKit developers can use the plugin to create SpriteKit games in Android environment, and also Java developers can use it to develop with SpriteKit in Android with the minimum effort. So let's start by how to get this plugin installed in your Eclipse. Step 1, open Eclipse, select help, then install new software, as you can see on the screen. Step 2, select the button add, then copy this link to the location field. Step 3, the plugin site will be then added to the list. Select the Sprite for Droid component, then click Next, and follow the installation process. Let's move now to see how to get ready for your first Sprite for Droid project. To create your first Sprite for Droid project, just open Eclipse, then select File, New, then Sprite for Droid project. Step 2, enter the project name and then click Next. Step 3, select the build target. Make sure to have the Android SDK configured in your Eclipse environment. Step 4, enter your application name, package name, and the minimum SDK that will be supported by your application. You can also check the Create a Test Project checkbox if you want to create a test project. Finally, click Finish to create your Sprite for Droid project. After that, the plugin will do all the job and a complete Hello World project will be created on your workspace. To run the example, you have just to click Run As, then to select Android application. You should then see this result. Let's now see a live demo to explore more functionalities of Sprite for Droid plugin. In this section, you will learn how to add a scene, how to add an SK label node, how to add an SK sprite node, and finally, how to use actions to animate the scene. So first, how to add a scene. In SpriteKit, to add a scene, we can use, for example, the method SceneWidthSize, as you can see here on the screen. Then we have to get our main view just by calling the method view. Then we have to present our scene to the view. So how to do this in Android? Using Sprite for Droid, we have just to call the same methods as you can see here, SceneWidthSize. Then to get our main view, we have just to call the method getInstance. And then to present our scene, we have just to call the same method presentScene. Now, how to add an SK label node? In SpriteKit, to add the label node, we can, for example, call the method label node with font named. Then we can set some properties. For example, here we are setting some text to our label, and we are setting the font size. In Android, using Sprite for Droid, it will be the same. So as you can see here, we call the method label node with font named, and we are setting the same properties the same way as we did with SpriteKit. The results, as you can see on the screen, will be the same in SpriteKit and in an Android environment using Sprite for Droid plugin. Let's now see how to add an SK sprite node. In SpriteKit, we can, for example, call the method sprite node with image named. Then we can set the position like this, and we can add it to our scene by calling the method addChild. In Android, using Sprite for Droid, it will be the same as you can see here. the same method sprite node with image name to create our SK sprite node, then the same methods to set the position and to add it to our scene. As you can see, the results is the same in SpriteKit and in Android using Sprite for Droid. We can also use actions to animate our scene. In SpriteKit, for example, we can choose a move up action or a pause action, a fade away action. You will get the same actions in Android using Sprite for Droid, as you can see here. So we can call all those methods the same way. Let's see the results. So here you can see the results of animating our sprite in an Android emulator. Let's say it again. Now to see a real game, let's take the famous Ninja example made by Ray Wunderlich. It's a SpriteKit based game, and you can download the source code for iOS from the link you can see on the screen. Let's see it in action. In this example, we're gonna see the game in Xcode. It's a SpriteKit based game that we completely recreated in Android with Java using Sprite for Droid. You're gonna see how we get all SpriteKit functionalities used in the game on Android side. Let's see it in action. So here, as you can see, this is the example in Xcode. The game uses the framework's foundation, core graphics, UI kit, and SpriteKit. This is the main scene. Here is the main method, init with size, where we added the contents. This is the update method. Let's see the results on the emulator. Let's see now the game in Android that we developed with Sprite for Droid plugin. As you can see, this is the main activity where we launch the main scene. Then this is the main scene and the game over scene. So here you can see the same SpriteKit structure and the same method names and class names. To see the results, let's run it on the Android emulator. So here, as you can see, using Sprite for Droid, we are able to get the same results on Android. I invite you guys to download and install Sprite for Droid. You can do beautiful things using it. Thank you, Jawad.
Okay, thank you, Othman. Guys, if you want to ask questions about Sprite for Droid, you can directly contact Otman. You know, the contact details are in the top of the slides in the introduction. Otherwise, just send us an email, you know, post your questions in the forum section. You know, Sprite for Droid plugin is entirely free. And really, I think it's the first time you can see a functionality as beautiful as you know, Sprite Kit brought to the Android world. So we've covered the followings today. An introduction about MyAppConverter, and although we are, you know, quite new, we're not covering as much as most folks, developers would like us to cover. You know, I can see questions around, do you do Android to iOS? We will be doing it, but let's, you know, close it now for this presentation and open for you know, questions. Very sorry if the technicalities in terms of the voice audio was not as good as it could have been. We will definitely improve. Thank you very much for the people who've joined. A big thank you for the private beta. And, you know, they are, you know, awesome. They come from all kind of corners of the world. Thank you for the public beta, who gave us basically a good steer about setting up this first webinar. We will definitely improve in the future. And now let's open it about Q&A. So I'm going to basically run, we've got about less than half an hour actually, but we've got basically a few questions. So I'm going to take them as along they came. One is iOS 8 and Swift, do we plan to support them? The answer is yes. We are working towards probably the second part of this year to be able to do iOS 8 and Swift to Android. Then the other question was about during the phase when the conversion has been done, is the converted code you know, should be unzipped. You basically download a zipped file, so then you unzip it before you do anything else. Of course, maybe we missed that. The other question is related to Android to iOS. Do we support Android to iOS code conversion? The answer is yes, and it should be available towards Q3. We are actually working on it now, but it's not ready. If you want to be on the private beta, come and contact us. Another question is, how much does it cost to use the service? The entire beta, for now, is entirely free. So 3 app code conversion, iOS to Android, up to 30 meg compressed file limit. After that, you know, you can think of, we're working toward the pricing, so it's not finalized, but it would be probably a price towards like per conversion, and it will be, you know, there will be always an element of free that you can actually use and try. I did not mention about the breakthrough technology we are using based on model-driven engineering. And this is something, you know, quite new, and sometimes people actually don't believe actually it can be done in terms of generating automatically native code without lots of bugs. Telling you there are not bugs now would be a lie, but we are correcting them. And I encourage any beta on this webinar to basically promote MyAppConverter in terms of their own experience. Coming back to the question, it will cost around, few $100s, depending on basically the size of the file, the complexity of the code. But this is, something we are working on. Another question around, do we support pointers in Java? We do support. And, by the way, a pointer is just a reference. So we support it. Quite lots of questions, so I'm going to basically, read them out and, answer them as long as I see them. Okay, there's one actually quite important for mobile developers is what about confidentiality of my source code? One webinar attendee asked. This is new. This is, something that most mobile developers, when we've approached them, before we were basically finalizing the private beta, that we're not keen on actually uploading to a non-trusted third party. Our guarantee to you, and again, private and public beta who have already used the service can speak and tell us it's a fact. We don't store your code. After you've used MyAppConverter, we delete the code. The only thing we do the cloud-based is because there is a new way. We are explorating, and it seems, and it's proving quite successful in terms of a certain category of developers who love it. However, fear not, we don't store your code, and we'll have also a Nextcode for the iOS to Android, a Nextcode plugin to your own machine, so you will not go away and start basically putting your code, during that solution. So our job is not to steal your code, it's to help you guys to make sure once you've developed your code, it can be converted to the other platform, like you basically hosting a website today. That's basically, and we guarantee you, we generate 100% native. If you're an Android developer, you basically will be familiar with that. So any other questions about confidentiality, let me know directly. Another question about pricing. Will pricing be tiered to handle both small and big business? Yes. And pricing will start from 0 for some indie developers. Certainly during the first few months of MyAppConverter, anyone who help us promote, like the private beta we have, use MyAppConverter, as a prime for them, as anything we do, and they don't pay a dime. Up to large-scale businesses who basically asking us basically some, POA, price on application. Another one is, hold on a sec. Okay, about coverage. Do you support PaaS framework? The answer is yes. Check myappconverter.com/coverage and you will see PaaS is being supported today. Another question about supporting scene kit for 3D games. Do we support them? For now, we support Sprite Kit for 2D games, but we aim to support Scene Kit as well. So we'll be covering it as well for 3D games. If you have some specific requirements, especially the one who asked these questions, do join MyAppConverter because members are telling us where we should go next. So we've spent time to be able to do a prototype that is most like close to fit to market. And now, if there's a members, especially lots of members who are basically pushing for this, we'll be basically doing it and prioritizing it. Right. A question about Sprite for Droid plugin. Does Sprite for Droid support all the features of the Sprite kit? Otman, do you want to answer this? Okay, he's giving me the answer. Yes, it does support, the entire set of functionalities of SpriteKit. For now, in the beta, we have the main one, but we are working towards basically doing the entire set of SpriteKit. Right, that question is done. There's a question about size limit for the current, cloud-based code conversion. Will there be a size limit of the app in the future? Okay, for now it's up to 30 meg. In the future, we'll basically definitely remove that limit, but there will be a price tag attached to it. Anyway, for any large app during the beta, do contact me directly or contact the forum, the live chat, we'll work out something. Guys, we're here to help. So, you tell us what to do and we'll definitely do something awesome for you guys. Okay, there's one around code conversion. So this is like a member who's used it and he says, when I imported some of my assets needed to be renamed. Is there any naming convention that need to be followed? So the answer is yes, there is a naming convention. So you need to avoid putting numbers in the beginning of the file name, and especially special characters should be basically banned, except of course underscores. Just follow basically the Android naming convention and you'll be fine. Any help, come on to the forum, ask us, other members can help, and you will not be left alone. The thing is, anyone who hasn't tried MyAppConverter now with a cloud base, go and try it. Take even a small code. Do it. If you're not familiar with Android, ask your colleague, your friend, and tell him you've got, this Android project. Don't tell him it's been converted using MyAppConverter. What does he think about? And, come back and tell us what we should do next, what we should improve upon. Really encouraging you guys to try it for the ones who haven't tried. So sign up. Don't be scared. This is something new, so we expect early adopters to be with us and helping us to make sure that product called MyAppConverter and the other basically tools around MyAppConverter is something you developer will love, use, and improve. Okay, I've got 5 more minutes to make sure we close this webinar within an hour. So I'll take probably 2 more questions. Do you support APNs? It is our priority, as it is commonly asked by the community. So we're working on it. So it's something that Apple push notification service will be basically done as part of our work. Thanks a lot. It's quite this is a good question to have asked. Right. Any other question that's coming up? Okay, one is around coverage again. What about Windows to iOS? Okay, we will support Windows, and our roadmap is, for now, it's iOS to Android. Then we'll do Android to iOS, and then we'll be basically tackling the Windows as well. So it will be sometimes later this year. So it's part of our roadmap. Okay, any other questions I can see in the live panel? Anyway, if there are other questions I haven't answered, they will be posted in the forum. So fear not, we will not be ignoring you. I'd like to close this first webinar. Many thanks for all of you who've joined. On behalf of Issam, Otman, myself, and the entire team at MyAppConverter. Thanks a lot for the private beta and the public beta who are using that service now. If without you, we'll not be where we are today. Big thank you to all. We'll be, coming up in about 2 weeks' time, hopefully better in terms of organizing this webinar. Any other questions? You've got the forum, you've got the support email, you can ask on Twitter, go and post on Facebook, and contact us. Thank you to everyone. Bye-bye for now.